Official 1,000,000% confirmation, Avatar will return for Book 2 and 3. The Avatar saga continues. How I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to shoot Season 2 and Season 3 more than likely back to back. I have a feeling that we might see a lot of leaks. We might see a lot of stuff like that. Like I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, the thing with Avatar is that if you're picking up Book 1 and picking up Book 2, if you don't adapt Book 3, in the long run, you've destroyed the value for the show. Because if it's an incomplete show, people are not going to watch it. If you tell someone, well, yeah, they did Book 1 and 2, but they never adapted Book 3 and it got cancelled, you've basically destroyed Book 1 and 2. So if you're doing Book 2, you might as well do Book 3. And that's why I was 100% confident if it's going to be renewed, it's going to be renewed for 2 seasons. Which it was. Big W. Big W. So, yeah, I mean, they better ready their budget for, like, the final AGNI Kai, Aang versus Ozai, all of that. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like, but we're going to see it. We're going to see it very, very soon. It's going to be great. And also, they released this little video, which I wanted to watch.
So I know one of the reasons we're getting together is because I was actually talking to Netflix yesterday, and I was asking the same question you were, Gordon, like, what's happening, you know, with the show? How are we doing? And they did share a bit of news with me that they asked me to share with you. And it's kind of sensitive, so I think that's why they asked me to do it. And it may not be the news that we are expecting.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was a very special show for me, and I think it was for everyone else.
Why is he saying it like that?
I'm sorry if this is unexpected, but they are not able to announce a season 2 for our show.
He knows. He knows.
But they did say something else to me that I think was really important. They said they're not able to announce a season 2 because
he knows.
They would like to announce season 2 and 3.
No way! Good! I did the first half! Daniel, screw you! Why would you do this to us?
Yeah, you're the Oscar. I have me sweating. God.
So cruel. That is evil, man.
I checked the numbers this morning. I was like,
I know, me too.
I checked the numbers this morning.
So
What have we telecast this way? We're going to be seeing more of each other over the next few years.
Avatar Hype House. Let's do it, guys. Come on.
Well, I can't help but feel a bit disappointed. It took them long enough. Congratulations, everyone.
I was expecting it yesterday. I was. I expected it to be yesterday. Because the fastest renewals are 13 days usually. I thought it'd be 12 this time around. But you know, 13 is fine. It's fine, we can take it. Now, the first thing I want to say, apparently this is like a very, very big misunderstanding. I don't know how this happened. I assume all of you here know this. This is in no way associated with Avatar Studios. The fact that this is being renewed doesn't change anything about the animated stuff. Nothing has changed. It's all moving ahead. This is good. Number 2, this has actually benefited the animated show immensely. Source, my YouTube channel. You have no idea how much the Netflix version has juiced up the original animation videos. It is insane. So many people are excited about Avatar. It's a net positive all around. I'm so excited. It's great. It's great. So book 2 and 3. And then there's an article about this as well. Because obviously the first thing you want to ask, I'm pretty sure both of these are basically the same thing. We're gonna scroll through both of these, right? But the most important thing is that it is concluding with Season 3. So this is not like a weird situation where Book 2 will be divided into like multiple seasons or whatever. This is the whole thing. It's ending with Season 3, and that's it. So you can do the math already on how it's gonna look like. Alright, let's see. The anime-inspired live actions... first to you, yeah, sure. Top 10 most watched list over its first 3 months. Big W. The plan is to film these 2 seasons, Season 2 and 3, in close succession. Yes, so this is what I said. I think if you're going to be following leaks, you're going to be seeing a lot of leaks. We'll see how they're going to shoot it. I really hope they do take the criticisms on board with like the volume and stuff. A bunch of the sets did feel small, you know. I talked about it a bit in the video as well, and we'll talk about it plenty more now that we actually know there's a vision for this whole thing. The sets are something I feel like they need to do a little bit differently. Name Netflix as yada yada. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is another huge sign. Mirror the structure, exactly, so you can already do the book 2 math, right? Book 2, I suspect, is going to be a lot more... is going to feel a lot more natural as opposed to book 1. Because book 1 in the animation, I mean, even Mike and Brian themselves call a lot of the episodes filler, effectively. So, you know, so that's good. That's good. But, oh, another thing. Remember how I said that this show has juiced up my channel for the animated series? I think the Avatarist also posted a picture about this, right? What the effect it's had on his channel as well. I've been thinking about the value gain that Netflix has now that they have the entire One Piece IP on their platform, and I can't even imagine how much money they are losing by not having the animated Avatar on Netflix. It is insane, the conversion that happens. Because, like, my live action video peaked at, like, day 2, and then day 3, views, like, across all of my animated videos, just, like, 10 times. It was great. It was very, very good. So, you know, do you still think they're going to have a time skip because Gordon's voice is deeper now compared to book 1? I think they will, yes. I think there's going to be a time skip after book 1. I don't think it's going to be a very big time skip, but I think there is going to be a time skip. 4 Nations, that's just lore. This is the weirdest way to explain bending I've ever seen in my life. Okay, what is this? If we get another season, then we will certainly have those things, because I know what we missed now, and I know how to do better the second time around. Yes, the animated series is a really good guide for where the show can go. There's stuff that they filmed, but that didn't make it into season 1. Very important detail. Very important detail. I'm not going to look for it now, but there was a post on the Avatar subreddit about how Mei and Ty Lee, they had stunt doubles, right? Stunt doubles, if you don't know, you get an actor that looks relatively like you, right? And then you use them for stunts, just in case you didn't know. Apparently, though, from people who are experienced with shooting these things, stunt doubles are also used for lighting, right? So instead of having the actual actor on board, especially with younger actors who have different contracts, you would have the stunt double basically be in the scene so that you figure out how you're going to shoot it, then you swap out the people, right? That is one explanation why Mei and Ty Lee would have stunt doubles. Because as you know, Mei and Ty Lee in Season 1, they were literal NPCs. They did nothing. They just stood around and were just there. However, there's another thing that you could suspect, that perhaps there was more with Mei and Ty Lee exactly because they were NPCs that just stood around. And I'm not sure what's going on there. I really don't know. Will each season have 8 episodes? That is the second biggest thing I want to talk about, because I don't believe any of these talk about any of that. I really, really hope they won't. I really hope they get at least 10 episodes. Preferably 12. Preferably even more so 14. I don't think they're going to. And I think all of that has to do with Netflix. I genuinely do. I think Netflix is the bad guy in this because they're doing the binge release. That's my headcanon anyway. On their TikTok, I already know one of the things they didn't film. I presume you mean put in the episode. Katara and Sokka going to Roku's temple. Yeah, like, a lot of stuff in book 1, it felt like it was meant to be there, but that it was cut out, right? And the reason why I keep saying this is because this has been a consistent problem with One Piece, it's been a consistent problem with Cobra Kai, it's been a problem with Lucifer, it's been a problem with every single Netflix show. They are afraid to linger on things, right? It's the same thing that, like, we saw with Aang crying. It's like he begins to cry, we focus on him crying for like 10 seconds and we cut away. So I feel like a lot of those things where, like, there would be a slower scene, they were just cut for some reason. Cobra Kai started on YouTube. That's exactly what I mean. Same with Lucifer. If you watch Lucifer in the start, it started on Fox, right? Fox is low budget. If you watch Lucifer at the start, a lot of the scenes are very slow. There's a lot of talking, and that's a good thing. We love filler. In a lot of these shows, we need filler. One of the biggest problems with modern TV, in my opinion, is the lack of any filler. Because people say, I'm going to make a video about this. I'm going to make a video about this 1,000,000%. Avatar fans. Filler is not a bad thing. Avatar has a lot of filler. And that is perfect. That's why we love it. That is exactly why we love it. We love filler. Filler doesn't necessarily mean that it's like... People use the word filler to describe filler in anime, right? Filler in anime is something that is not in the manga. That is how people describe filler in anime. Avatar has no source material, right? So people say, therefore, it cannot have filler, but that is not what filler is. If you do this, watch this. Filler TV definition. Generally, continuous serial that are unrelated to the main plot don't significantly alter the relations between the characters and generally serve only to take up space. This has nothing to do with source material. This is just something that pads out the runtime by adding in, like, flavor. And that is good. We love this. We want more filler. It's not going to be a weekly release. I'm 1,000,000% sure that it's not going to be a weekly release. I don't think Netflix will ever change their release model. At least not now. I don't see them, like, rocking the boat. We're eating good with One Piece and Avatar. Absolutely we are. Better Call Saul did a whole episode of Mike breaking down a car, and it's one of the best character moments. I mean, even Fly in Breaking Bad, like, watching Fly, I mean, Fly is like one of the most notorious filler episodes, right? The Fly episode, if you watch it now, it's genuinely not that bad. Like, when you watch it for the first time, yeah, it's like a speed bump. But going back and watching Breaking Bad now, like, the Fly episode, in the bigger context of Breaking Bad, it does really feel like it makes sense. Best thing about One Piece live action was when the crew was hanging around together, and I think One Piece has the same exact problem. They have literally cut every single bit of filler from the show, and I hate it. I want them to sit around a table and just talk. Make it the lowest budget thing ever. Just sit around a table and talk, like people do. Just sit and talk. For a little bit. Talk about your feelings, talk about the weather, talk about what you like, talk about the meal you just had, just talk. Just make us feel invested in their lives with these little bits of flavor. It's like even the scene of Bato, right? In the animated show, where they're talking about like Katara and Sokka sit around in the little tent, and they just like talk about their memories a little bit. It does serve the purpose of like making Aang feel as an outsider, but it also just opens up their characters, in a way. I love filler. What I don't like is bad filler. There's a very important difference, and it really, really bothers me that people correct me when I describe things as filler, even though they are filler. It really, really bothers me because I am not against filler, I'm against bad filler. In the same way that I'm not against live-action adaptations, I'm only against bad live-action adaptations. Hope the budget for the upcoming seasons is significantly increased. That's a tough one. That is a really, really tough one. We've talked about this before, but I feel like there's like a critical point where you can't really push the budget anymore. And I kind of have a feeling that we've already hit that point. I don't think you can really push the budget for these shows that much anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Because like, I'm going to be totally honest. When you're talking about 100 million, 150 million, 160 million, like, I try to ground myself in what these numbers mean in terms of like other shows, but I genuinely have like no point of reference what that actually looks like. Like, what the hell does 130 million go into? You can start doing the math by like the number of people employed, the average salary, yada yada, but you need to do like a lot of spreadsheeting to figure that out. So I genuinely don't know if they can realistically push the budget a lot. If this was One Piece, because like, let's be real, with this and One Piece, the situation is a little bit different. Because with One Piece, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the funding comes from Shueisha, because it is the most expensive advertisement for the manga. If you don't know, in Japan, a lot of anime series are actually advertisements for the manga. Apparently, this is why Berserk still hasn't received an adaptation. It is not just because adapting Berserk would be incredibly hard for censorship and everything else. It is also because Berserk is already so big that it frankly just doesn't need an adaptation. Like, it's literally as simple as that. Apparently, it's what I've heard. So with One Piece, it makes sense that it's not actually wholly Netflix funding it, right? Whereas with Avatar, I don't think Avatar Studios is that involved with it. I may be wrong, I don't know. But that's sort of my understanding on it. they'll listen to Avatar fans and not mess up again in season 2 and 3. Well, I mean, I think like season 1, generally, I think people tend to forget that season 1 in the animated show is also like the most disjointed, right? It's still very good, but it's very, very disjointed. I think adapting book 2 and especially book 3 will be infinitely easier. Especially like, think of like Zuko alone. Zuko alone is like the most live action thing you can imagine. It's going to be perfect. That's like the most human story in the entire thing. For some reason, investors are scared of live action series, even with the success. It's all about making it as short as possible to mitigate risk. I think a lot of the decisions to make it short isn't actually about investors or money at all. Because I think like they've shot enough material to make it 10 episodes. I don't think it's a budget issue. I think it's a creative issue. Because like, think of it this way. We had a bunch of episodes in the show that were like an hour long. Let's clear one thing up. Netflix doesn't have the issue of programming, right? The reason why every single show is 42 minutes is because originally shows were designed for 60-minute blocks, or 20 minutes for advertisements, right? That's why 42 minutes is the industry standard. Ditto for animation. Why is every single anime 24 minutes? Because it's meant for TV, right? Netflix doesn't have that limitation. That's why we have episodes that are an hour long, we have an episode that is 40 minutes long, yada yada. And with that in mind, ask yourself, why do we not linger on Aang crying? That is a creative decision. That is not a money decision at all. Because they've shot the scene. They just chose to cut it. Right? Avatar episode when they go to the theater is pure filler. Is one of the best episodes. I assume you mean Ember Island players, and yes, you're 100% right. You're 1,000,000% right. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be in this. I would love to eat my words. I would love to eat my words like there's no tomorrow. If they adapt Ember Island players, I will set up like a 10-year subscription to Netflix. I'll do it. Like most toxic fans, you'll try to believe, exactly as you said, it is a net positive for the entire IP. I mean, I don't even have to argue about this. You can go to any single Avatar YouTube channel and look at their views. Like, there is literally no arguing about this. This is a net positive for the IP. Like, anyone who claims otherwise is just plain wrong. Like, there is no debate around this. It is literally a fact. You can prove this with numbers. Because, like, the biggest boom everyone has seen is about animated stuff, not about the live action. It's like I said, even my channel has benefited from this massively. It's a good thing. It's a good thing all around. Final battle between Aang and Ozai. I'ma be honest, like, Aang versus Ozai, they better hope that, like, some sort of, like, I don't know, like, at that point, you kind of want to hope for, like, AI generation, some sort of weird CGI tech that hasn't come out yet, weird mocapping, 3D models that are infinitely more advanced, like fluid dynamics. You need all of these things to come out before they do, like, Season 3. I can't even imagine what that would look like in live action. I genuinely can't. And I'm not talking about, like, doing it. I think you could do it pretty easily. I'm talking about doing it and making it stand up to the animation. Because, like, Aang versus Ozai, that is not like a, oh, I didn't like this episode of the show. If they mess that up, the show is dead. Like, genuinely. I think it would destroy rewatchability for it completely. It's like the same thing. Even Game of Thrones, right? You remember the start and you remember the end. With freaking Avatar, if you mess up the end, it's gonna be really, really bad. People would be real bad. Tale of Iroh is going to destroy me in live action. The actor is so good. Iroh's actor. I always forget his name. He's so good. Some people accused you of getting paid by Netflix when you praise Avatar live action because I saw people accuse of some content creator. Oh, yeah. We are, like, when I'm being negative, I am just being a hateful person because hate gets clicks. When I'm being positive, I'm being paid. Like, there is no two ways around this. No matter what I do, I will always lose, so I just don't talk about it. Like, there's no point in entertaining this point at all. I've said this a million times before, trust me. If I am ever sponsored, you will know. You will know. I would never do shady things because, you know, I would get blasted, and I don't want that. It's like, I think you need to take one look at like, how I talked about The Walking Dead in the first, like, 5-6 seasons, and how I talk about The Walking Dead in, season 11. There is a very clear difference in my thoughts on material. You can tell. Like, it probably doesn't benefit me, but I'm honest about my feelings. If I don't like something, I just say it how it is. Oh, the animated show is on Netflix in Germany? Not in Latvia, no. I wanted to watch it, but it's not on Netflix. It's only on Paramount now. Because, like, here in Latvia, a bunch of these, like, Paramount is bundled with something else. We have a bunch of local streaming services as well, but they're, like, bundled in with a bunch of other stuff. If it's in Germany, that's good, though. Who would you want cast in live action? Ember Island players, animated cast. Oh, I would love for them to get the entire animated cast. If they get, like, everyone of the OGs in the Ember Island players, I think I could die happy at that point. Make Ember Island players and do it as a recap before Season 3 Part 2 like they do with Stranger Things. Honestly, if they made Ember Island players as a little short for YouTube, like as a promotional piece, do it. It's the best advertisement ever. Just make an ad that functions as recap, that is low budget. Do it. It would be so cheap to do. Like, it's a single set, a handful of people, literally purposefully cheap like designs. It would be so easy to do. It would be so easy to do. Yeah, like Sozin's Comet, I don't even know what they're going to do with that. Like, with modern tech, like, I'm not super up to date with, like, all the VFX, obviously, because that's just not what I do. But, like, I don't know. That's, like, one of those things, like, there's a reason why it's animated, you know? AI in the show with bending generation, like, imagine if they have the models to be able to accurately track the bending from martial arts. Yeah, like, that's like the number one thing that I think would actually be incredibly valuable when it comes to, like, generative AI, you know? It's just VFX, basically. Because, I mean, that's basically what it is. Like, people just, like, we have this whole stigma around what AI is and isn't, even though, like, it's been used for 100 different things before this whole craze. And I feel like fluid dynamics and everything else like that, that's like a perfect use case scenario for that. I know nothing about it, though, so I don't know. They've shot something from Season 2 except big parts? I don't think so. I don't think they've done, like, basically anything for Season 2. Maybe they've shot something for Omashu, which again goes back to that Ty Lee and May, like, stun double stuff. But I don't think they've done a lot for Book 2, no. Imagine some secret billionaire hardcore fan spending 100 million to the production just for Aang and Ozai. You know, let me be clear with you. There is a reason why I could never be a billionaire. You know why? Because that's what I would do. I'd be like, you know what? I really like that show. I want to make it good. Can I just write you a check of like a few $100 million? Make it good. Like, obviously, it is very important to note. The movie that came out, what was it called? The Godzilla movie. Godzilla, like, -1, it came out very recently. Its budget was very, very small, but it looked incredible. Budget does not make good things. It doesn't. You can throw as much money at something as you like, it can still be bad. Very easily. You need a vision and you need good creatives. That said, money does solve a lot of problems. Picture of Aang on Gordon's background, yeah, I know. People on TikTok are crazy, saying this is worse than the 2010 movie. Like, opinions like that, I genuinely, like, if you watch the 2010 movie, and I mean this 100% sincerely, if you say that this show is worse than that, whatever you say about cinema, period, just anything you say about cinema is automatically a moot point in my eyes. Because, like, the 2010 movie, it is not just a bad Avatar adaptation. It is just a bad movie. Like, everything about it is bad. Genuinely. It's not good. You know what, I don't think this is gonna happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if this does make Paramount reconsider their stance with Netflix. Because I'm just thinking about the potential, like, if they do some sort of revenue sharing model, I think there's, like, very good synergies. If they got the animated show back on Netflix worldwide, I think it would be beneficial for Paramount, even if they're not, like, the main rights holders. I mean, yeah, if you're just saying you want longer seasons, I'm 100% with you there. I just want every single Netflix show, basically, to have longer seasons. I think they cut way too much. Like, even if they took the show that was already there and literally extended, like, every single dialogue scene by 2 seconds, I think they could already improve the show. I genuinely think they snip off just too much from the scenes. What do you think? The Fire Nation looking weak when they attacked the air temple? I saw 4 to 5 soldiers were able to kill an airbender. Yeah, I've seen people talk about that, right? Like the fact that the attack happens during Sozin's Comet, but like the airbenders are strong. You know what my genuine reaction to that is? I think people just don't realize how strong airbenders are. Like straight up. I think most of the Fire Nation soldiers, like the way I always read that is that like the Fire Nation soldiers rely on their fire, right? They're empowered by Sozin's Comet, so they're just like blasting. The air nomads are just incredibly strong. People keep sleeping on air. If you ask me what element I want to bend, it's air. 1,000,000%. Just immediately. There's like no consideration whatsoever. Airbending is so ridiculously overpowered, it's insane. There's a reason for their pacifism? Yes. They don't even show like 5% of their power. You're 100% right. I think even the actors who played in that movie low-key hate it. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not. The movie is just bad, like genuinely. Oh my god, best thing about the movie is 7 earthbenders throwing a single rock. Like imagine, and this is what I mean, it's not just a bad adaptation, but it is also a bad movie, because if you look at that scene, you know why that scene exists? I can explain why that scene exists. It's because that entire movie is obsessed with continuous takes. I've said this, if you're really, really bored, go back to the movie and watch how many times they like linger on a scene without cutting away. So like, you know how usually when people talk in TV shows, you're gonna cut to one person, then the other person, then back to the other person, right? There's always like that camera movement. That movie is obsessed with using everything with a single camera. Every single shot, like the freaking rock shot, it just pans and pans and pans and pans and then pans back to Aang. It is all one camera. And I hate it. Like sometimes it looks good, but there's no need to use it that much. One of the best continuous takes in anything I've ever seen is in True Detective Season 1. There's an uninterrupted take. It's ridiculously long, it's ridiculously complex. But that is where you use it. Because it subconsciously makes you uneasy. Because it never cuts away. It like plays with your fundamental expectations. And that is like best cinema making at its core. When you know your audience and you play with your audience. And the way they sort of perceive things. Right? The Avatar movie just did it because it looks cool. I hate it. We know the directors and creative team listen to the fans' critiques. There's not much room to screw it up. Listen. Netflix, listen. I will gladly do consulting for you. I will never tell any of these people in chat about anything. I will gladly watch the show, give you my thoughts, tell you the things that I don't like, and you are free to completely disregard my opinion. Just let me see. Let me see the show early, you know? Hook me up. But yeah, like jokes aside, I do think they're generally open to criticism, at least based on what I've seen. Yeah, this is like another thing. Like people keep talking about the original creators. The original creators were involved with the movie. That was largely their vision. And that's not a dig at them. It's just like, we need to stop throwing around these pointless arguments. I feel like whenever I talk about Avatar, I need to have like a sign up of all of these things. There's like, don't mention these things because they mean nothing. Which is better, One Piece live action or Avatar live action? Don't ask me. Just don't ask me. I genuinely have no idea. I think both have like big flaws, but both have big strengths. Because I think like One Piece, it's very hard to say because One Piece by design is linear. Avatar Book 1 is not actually linear, you know? So like the stuff that One Piece cut wasn't as big of a deal as it was with Avatar in a weird way. On the other hand, like with One Piece, they also completely dumbed down Nami's arc. Well, not Nami's arc, but they dumbed down like Nojiko and everything else there, right? Like with all the tattoos and stuff. I genuinely couldn't tell you. How do you think Season 2 will change? Based on what they've done with Wan Shi Tong, I've got no clue. Like, they moved up Wan Shi Tong to Book 1. Does that mean, like, keep in mind, the fact that Wan Shi Tong was moved and the fact that Zhao has been changed, this means that Wan Shi Tong, if he is still in the library, there needs to be some sort of explanation why he's in the library, unless it's literally just like, it's the spirit world, why not? That's like number one. Number two, there is not that angle of Wan Shi Tong protecting the library from dudes looking for war, right? Because he was just chilling in a forest. So that is already changed. a bunch of these things around like the fundamental lore of how we discover about the Day of Black Sun and everything else, it will be changed, I think. And I don't really think there's like a concrete way of predicting what it's going to be. We can talk about it a lot more once we start to get like actual details of it. Because if it's going to be 8 episodes as well, like I said, book 2 is much more linear. There's not a lot of room where you can cut stuff. Like you could completely cut out the Great Divide, for example. Right? And they cut out the pirates, they cut out a bunch of this stuff. With book 2, they can't be that liberal. They actually need to like stick to the story a little bit more. Albert Kim said they wanted criticism so they can improve on the next seasons. Albert Kim, call me. Call me. My DMs are open on Twitter. My DMs are open everywhere. Just hit me up. Hit me up. I'll give you my 100% criticism. It's gonna be great. If the movie that comes out in 2025 is just average or not as good as the cartoon, then what will be the excuse? There won't be an excuse, and that's what I mean. Like, people need to just start judging things for what they are and move on. Like, none of these things will ever change the fact that Avatar: The Last Airbender is a 10 out of 10 show, period. Nothing will ever change that. No one will ever take it away from you. The live-action version, even if it's good, if it's bad, it doesn't matter. If the movie is good, doesn't matter. If the movie is bad, doesn't matter. You know? There is no excuse. If it's bad, it's bad. It is what it is. Arlong Park was the second worst arc in One Piece live action. Yeah, I think Arlong Park was a bit odd. Episode 1, Return to Amashu. 2, Zuko Alone. 3, Chase. Oh no, you're blending them together, okay. Right away, I feel like they might cut Serpent's Pass. I think Serpent's Pass is one of those things that they could just cut outright. Even though I don't want them to, by the way. I've said this in all of my videos before. I love the fact that Serpent's Pass does like a bunch of world building. I just love cool locations in series. That's like one of my favorite things about... I feel like I'm talking a lot about One Piece when we should be talking about Avatar, but like in One Piece you have like some of these sprawling shots and they're just freaking gorgeous. Like Zou. The tree on Zou. It's gorgeous, right? And the same thing goes for Avatar. A lot of these small locations that they cut, like even the Great Divide. I mean, obviously it's the Great Canyon. It's supposed to be the Great Canyon, let's be honest. But it's cool. It looks cool. I wanted to see it. Oh my god, imagine seeing the Puppet Master in live action. You know what I want? You're listing out all the episodes. You know what I want? I want the freaking Puppet Master to be an entire standalone episode. You know why? Because we've already removed so much complexity with characters like Zhang Zhang, right? I've talked about this ad nauseum before. The most beautiful thing about Avatar is that right away, we are shown that firebenders are not pure bad, and all the other nations are not pure good. This is not like a everyone against the Fire Nation. There are good firebenders, there are bad earthbenders, there are bad waterbenders, right? And I really want the freaking, the Puppet Master to go all out. Have people, like, contorting their bones or something. That would be so cool. If they're going to cut out the swamp. Like, my knee-jerk reaction is, of course they won't. But they might. They might. And that really, really scares me. It really, really does. The swamp is one of my favorite episodes of Book 2. I love the swamp. You think they'll stay true to the desert if they do it? I mean, they have to. Yeah, I mean, this is what I mean. Like, my knee-jerk reaction to all of these questions, and I think that's just, like, to showcase how much more linear and how much more planned Book 2 is. The desert kind of has to be there. Because it plays into so many different things. You know? It demonstrates, like, the absolute brutality of Aang and that he's afraid to use the Avatar state a bunch. They lose Appa, which is important. They also introduce sandbending, by the way, which also ties later into Toph mastering sandbending because she failed that one time. That's another important thing. We see Katara pulling all of them together, which is very important. We see Wan Shi Tong, which is again very important because it like loops back to Zhao, already been changed. We find out about the Day of Black Sun, very important. There are so many of these things that, like, if you change one of them, it becomes a domino effect, and you need to account for that everywhere. So that's what I mean. Like, my problem with changing these things is not changing them, but changing them and not thinking them through. I think Heibai was this. I think in Season 1, Heibai is the best example of this. Because they introduced Ko alongside Heibai. But Heibai seems like an afterthought, because we only deal with Ko. I feel like that is a change they made, but didn't actually think through. Because if you watch those 2 episodes, Heibai is just a thing that roams the forest, and that's it. Like, there's absolutely no talk of, like, renewal and everything. There's, like, that one small scene of Momo bringing the acorn, and that's it. It's like, yeah, we plant the acorn, that's it. But, like, what do you mean? Like, Heibai is still a bad spirit, right? So, I don't know. If they plan for these changes, I'm fine. I'm just afraid of them changing things and not really thinking through the ramifications of that. And Koroto tries not mentioning The Walking Dead challenge, difficulty impossible. Carl in The Walking Dead, if you know, you know. That is a change no one seemingly even thought about for 3 seconds. I don't think anyone considered that change for even a heartbeat. I think they just did it and then we're like, wait, hold up, we messed up. The Great Divide plot was merged with Cave of Two Lovers. Actually, it wasn't. The Great Divide was merged with the Pirates, and it was merged with Heibai. Because once Zuko and Iroh go into the bar, and they're questioning for where Aang is, they say, was it the Canyon guy? No, it wasn't the Canyon guy. Was it the Pirates? No, it weren't the Pirates. They go through like a list of the things they cut. It's very clever.
The very forest.
It's not actually in there, it's just a little Easter egg. I would be really, really interested if this pans out to be an avenue for adapting the Kyoshi novels and the Yang Chen novels. That's what I am most interested in. If in the long run, this gets us Yang Chen and Kyoshi. I want to reread the Yang Chen novels, because I feel like I was much more engaged with the Kyoshi ones, for some reason, but I feel like Yang Chen's story was a bit stronger in many ways. I want to reread it. Maybe it'll be easy to do Appa being stolen since it gives them an excuse to not show Appa for a while. Very, very good call, by the way. A very good call. If you go back and rewatch Book 1, you'll notice that they're hidden a lot. And they're hidden for the simple reason of it being expensive. So if they do the desert very early, and then we reunite with Appa at the end of the season, makes sense, honestly. I would not be surprised if that's what they do. If, like, let's say the desert is one of the first things we see. Well, maybe not the first thing, maybe we see, like, the swamp first, right? Then we see the desert. Then we lose Appa. Then we get the entire Bossing Say arc. Then we get to Lake Laogai, we rescue Appa, and maybe as we're trying to leave, that's when we face, like, the Dai Li or something. I don't know, something like that. And that's when, like, we get killed, right? Am I remembering the animated showing correctly? Because some people say they showed Iroh as a nice guy early, because, I didn't look at him as a bad guy in Book 1 animated show. I don't think he was ever meant to be, like, an antagonist, no. I mean, obviously he's with Zuko, right? But, like, he never does anything villainry. I mean, at the end of Book 1, he fights Zhao, all the same. I don't think he ever does anything, like... Yeah, I don't think so. Obviously, he is still Uncle Iroh, and he is still of the Fire Nation, right? But I don't think he does anything, like, super evil or anything. Even when they're chasing Aang with the, Shirshu. Shiryu is One Piece, Shirshu. With the Shirshu, right? With Nyla. He doesn't actually fight anyone. I'm pretty sure, anyway. Why are you investing time? Why are you proving my points? You're literally proving my point. We just talked about this. I'm not even gonna read the whole thing out. I want more stylized episodes like the last episode. Imagine half an episode in Toph's vision. What do you mean in Toph's vision? What are you saying? What are you saying? What do you think you're implying? I hope the Guru episode is done justice. The raw emotion of Aang's chakra opening, Toph first metal bending, and the setup of the final encounter. Yes, and this is something I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about this, but like, if you go through the episodes and look at how they're named, they are meant to very, very clearly mirror, Zuko and Aang, right? With things like Bitter Work, for example. Bitter Work, Aang is learning earthbending, Zuko is figuring out the whole lightning redirection thing. That's bitter work for both of them, right? And with the Guru, a lot of the Guru is about, like, emotions and really feeling yourself, you know? So, Toph discovers metal bending, Aang is opening the chakras, and we have the whole Katara stuff in Ba Sing Se, right? I really think they need to embrace the vision for the episodes. Not just the episodes, but the vision for the episode. That's like a whole big thing in Avatar that I feel like a lot of people don't even talk about. What I was going to say about the Guru, though. The Guru, a lot of people like to forget, the Guru is a recap episode. People don't even know. Go watch the episode and see how much recap it has. The Guru is a recap episode. And that's a good thing. That's by the way why it happens at the end of Book 2. because it's meant to remind you of the things going into the finale. Just FYI. Book 2 and 3 in the anime have 20 episodes each. It should not be a problem adapting them. Well, that's what we said with season 1, but look at how that turned out. Think in the next season, some grandma is gonna tell us Omashu Falls give Aang a letter. They say someone I see what you're saying. People like to forget that this is how most shows actually operate. This is a thing in the like, think about the Storm. The Storm, they meet a random fisherman, and that basically starts most of the plot. It's literally like a random NPC. Why are people criticizing the live action version so much about that? It's the same thing in every single show. In every single show, you're gonna have these random NPCs that push the plot to forward. Originally spaced between lines of dialogue, right? But they just cut. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, I think so too. I think it is. I think it's a creative issue. I don't think it's even a writing issue. I think it's a creative issue. He does steal a bottle of perfume. It's technically a bad thing. Well, I don't want to be that guy, but we also stole from pirates. Oh, like the camera showing how Toph sees the world through earthbending? I would eat that up. If they could actually pull that off, oh my god, I would love it. That would be so cool. It'll be much better now that the actors have more experience. I hope the creators let them be themselves. They have such good chemistry in interviews. That's exactly what I mean, right? A lot of people, they get caught up on, like, acting. A lot of the issues you see with acting is either poor direction or poor scripts. And sometimes it's a mix of all three things. The best way I think you can really see is just how people interact amongst each other, right? Whether they're being awkward, yada yada. I feel like with a good director, you can make just about any person decent at acting. I genuinely think so. Because I've seen incredible actors become horrible actors for some reason, and it always comes down to the script. So I don't know what the issue really is, because a lot of the scenes in Season 1 do feel a little bit stiff. And based on what I've seen of the actors, it doesn't seem like that's how they normally act. So I don't know where the issue is, whether it's the dialogue, whether it's them just, like, not really knowing each other and they're, like, a bit awkward. I don't know. Imagine she falls and it all goes dark until she touches the ground. Now you're speaking my language. This is the things that I think about in the shower. It's like, oh my god, imagine an episode where you, like, see through the eyes of someone else and the whole thing is, like, slightly differently colored, and then you jump between perspectives in this cool little thing. I think about a lot of these things. Just like how you would direct an episode. It's one of my favorite things. I love it. An episode from the point of view of the cabbage vendor? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Is there, like, imagine like a 45-minute episode of him just literally selling cabbages. He's just chilling, and then suddenly Aang springs up and destroys the whole thing, and the rest of the 5 minutes is just him chasing Aang around, and the episode ends. That's it. Yeah, that is true, by the way. The fact that they refilmed some scenes because they developed better chemistry, it's true. That happens with a lot of shows, by the way. A lot of the time when actors develop like better relationships, they go back to refilm stuff. And it's not just even chemistry. Like House of the Dragon, I think they're still refilming stuff now. It's just to, like, get better scenes and stuff. That's just a creative thing. One Piece live action needs to condense the story. Avatar can be 1-to-1. Yes, but they're not. Season 1, I checked this, by the way. Live action Avatar Season 1 has a bigger runtime than the animated show. The problem is that the animated show is in, like, 20-minute blocks, whereas the live action version is 60-minute blocks. So it just doesn't make sense to, like, go from one episode of the animated show to the next episode of the animated show and still be within the same episode of the live action show. They need to think of how to bridge them together. I think you could do it. I think you could do it. It's just very hard. We'll see what happens with Book 2. Maybe if they give them 10 episodes, it would already be much better, because again, like, it's much more focused. Right? And they can slot some things around, it can be fine. That is actually a very good idea. Zuko alone with Aang burning Katara. That would be very interesting for parallels. That would be very, very good. I like that. Give them 10 episodes, then it's longer than the source material. It is already longer than the source material, and that didn't help. Season 1 of the live action version is longer than the animated show. I want them to have as much time as they can if they're going to do this weird cutting everything thing. Like, if they're gonna cut everything, just give them more time. Like, just more episodes and more time. Whatever, if it's 3 times longer than the original, just include everything. Stop cutting things. I think adapting Korra would be infinitely harder than Avatar. I think Korra's setting and Korra's bending system and a lot of things about Korra would be much harder to adapt in live action. I think a much better bet is honestly, like I said, the Kyoshi and Yang Chen novels. I wouldn't be against adapting Korra though. I don't think they're going to though, because Korra has it's fantasy and it's steampunk. It's like two very, very different things blended together. Like if with Avatar, you can shoot in a forest and it's cheap. With Korra, you can't really do that. How can you change the final battle? I think the final battle, I don't think you can really change. I think the final, I genuinely think the entire, 4-part finale is perfect. And I mean this in every single sense of the word. I don't think there is a single thing about it that I would consider bad. I know some people don't like the lasers, right? Like the whole Aang doing the laser thing with Ozai. But considering who Aang is, I'm not at all against it. I'm not. And it's not, like a lot of people say it's a last-minute decision with the turtle. It's not. The turtle is actually in the library. It was planned 100%. And actually, the lion turtles are one of the first ever things in the Pitch Bible as well. The lion turtles apparently were a thing at the very, very, very start of even book 1. The Rock needs to be the boulder. I think isn't The Rock ridiculously expensive as an actor? 1-to-1 finale will look amazing. Basically, how much can you change it? Yeah, the finale is a weird one because I think in the animation it is genuinely perfect, but I don't know if you can. I don't know enough about it basically to say. I don't know if you can realistically even adapt Sozin's Comet in live action. I genuinely don't know. I'm not sure if it's even possible. Because Sozin's Comet is like the one time in Avatar where they're like, we're an animated show. We're gonna go all out. We are just gonna go all out. It's like 15 Zeppelins smashing into each other. Then we're running across Zeppelins. Then we have the whole freaking Zuko. Actually, Zuko versus Azula. It's probably the easiest thing. It's insane. On the bright side, Season 3, if they shoot back-to-back, I don't think this should be like a 6-year thing. I think if they're shooting Season 2 and 3 back-to-back, as they're saying right here, 4 years probably, 2028, I think we should be done. Maybe I'm being super optimistic. I feel like 2027, 2028, I think we should be done. I can't see it taking much longer than that. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for today. I think we've talked about just about everything we realistically can. Basically, this is very, very good news. Just to reiterate, this is good for everything to do with Avatar, and this impacts nothing to do with Avatar Studio. If anything, it benefits them. I still don't know why Avatar Studios hasn't posted literally anything about what they're doing, though. That's what bothers me. Hold on. Let me go into this. They should be capitalizing on this hype, and I don't know why they're not doing anything. Aren't they working on the animated Avatar movie? I've heard someone say that. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Supposedly, it's coming out 2025, but I'm not sure if it's actually coming out 2025. That's what I mean, right? So this Netflix stuff, it affects nothing with Avatar Studios. These are two completely separate entities. These are not linked in any single way. Theoretically, we don't actually know. Like, maybe they are communicating amongst each other with, like, lore and stuff. But nothing about this is changing. The Avatar movies, the animated ones, are moving forward as far as we know. The Netflix success only fuels into that. Source, my YouTube channel. So, it's a good thing across the board. Oh my god, look at this. Greg Baldwin tweeted. Ember Island players, use OG voice cast. This is solid advice. Please forward to appropriate executive. I am serious. Yes. We want this. We want this. We want this. 100% we want this. If this happens, I would actually die of happiness. Oh, hold up. There's more. There's more. I also have some thoughts on the leaves from the Vine sequence that will make the entire fandom happy. There's only one way to handle the song. I've thought long and hard about this, and I actually do have some insights about the character and this particular sequence, having lived in an Iroh adjacent universe since 2006. In the background, play Mako's version. Yes. Yes, we want that. We definitely want that. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. The Rock as Katara? I think I'm sold. I think I'm sold. You know what I think we should do? We should, what we should do is we should take, you know, the original design for Toph was a dude. It was a big buff dude who was like supposed to be a jock, basically. Let's do that. Let's swap Toph back to the original design and just make Toph the Rock. I think I should. I think Netflix should just hire me right now. Actually, while we're at it, we should also embrace the original designs of Appa and Momo. If you didn't know, let me show you something real quick, and then I'm actually gonna head off. Let me show you something that will blow your mind if you don't know about this. If you didn't know, Avatar: The Last Airbender was originally like a robot type series. Just FYI. Nothing about it was supposed to be like super grounded martial arts and everything. It was much different. It's basically Naga. It is. That's where Naga actually went to. Naga is basically an adaptation of this. This right here is Momo. If you can see him. Are you for real? Yes. This is in the books. Here's a bunch more stuff about it's from the art of Avatar: The Last Airbender or whatever. All of this is very real. Yes. It was supposed to be a space boy. We've come a very long way. If you didn't know. We've come a very long way. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. Like I said, I expected this to happen yesterday, but it's good that it happened today. Very good that it happened today. Very good that we got 2 seasons. So we have nothing to worry about. We're gonna see all of it. They can probably still pull the plug. Like, realistically, if something really bad happened, they can probably pull the plug, but I don't think they're going to. Like, I think that if they've ordered 2 seasons, it's basically going through with it. So, we're gonna talk for like 6-something years. He's gonna be really good.